So welcome to this little video I have decided to put together for you. This is on the moon phases and how these moon phases may affect you. Obviously, a lot of our astrology videos are on new moon and full moon, and I thought it might be nice for you just to have a little bit of a journey through the moon phases. Now, for me, a journey through the moon phases is actually a journey of personal development and growth. So life is all about cycles, obviously. And the cycles we see in nature all the time. We see cycles through the season. In particular, we see the cycles, I think, in a really nice way to connect the dots here. We see the cycles of growth and of new beginnings, thinking about trees and things like that. So you see the seed being grown, you see it growing stronger, you see roots taking. And then what we also see is we see that seed becoming a tree and it grows new leaves. And in the seasonal changes, these new leaves obviously fall away. They grow to fullness and then they fall away, and then there's a bare period, and then the growth cycle starts again. So I would like to introduce to you the moon cycle, like the similar growth cycle that of the trees and the plants that we can go through as human beings. So we begin in winter. In winter, we have the cycle of the dark moon. In winter, the tree is bare and the ground is hard, and this is not a time for new growth. This is a time in which the tree is pulling its energy inwards. There is lots of stuff going on internally to the tree, but this is not stuff that we see on the external world. And in the dark moon phase, or just the point before the new moon becomes exact and then the light begins to begin in the sky, we see this dark moon similarity to the winter and the tree. So we need to draw our awareness inwards. We want to be connecting to stillness. We want to be enjoying that time of rest when we can focus our awareness inwards and listen for guidance. So the dark moon, the new moon, is very much about an internal point of guidance in our lives. So we might choose at this time to meditate. We might choose at this time to rest. We might choose to be more aware in sort of maybe listening more than we speak, perhaps. We would drop our levels of activity significantly. The light had been waning before the new moon, obviously. The light had been decreasing in the sky. So we drop the levels of activity significantly. And as I mentioned to you often in these new moon videos, that we want to go inwards at this point in time and to be still, because the new moon cycle of astrology, even though the energy changes during the month and different things come in and out, the new moon actually sets up a cycle of energy for that lunar period, that 28 days period. Okay. So, with this in mind, it's good to take your time to do less, to maybe notice who you're with and whether these people are going to be good for your energy. Because at this point in time of our lives, when we're with people that drain us, I don't really believe we should ever really be with people on a regular basis that drain us, because it's just not good for our energy body. However, when we are with people that drain us, it's going to be much more detrimental to us at that point in time, because the cup is meant to, well, the introspection is what we're in, and we're meant to be inward focused and sort of look at nurturing our own self, nurturing our energy body. So be aware of who you're socializing with at this time, because that will make a big difference. And I would say maybe spending more time at home if you like being at home, maybe more time, yeah, just things that feel restful and calming and good. And because this is the winter period, of course, we want to make sure our food also is nourishing us at this time. So we might want more grounded food, like often we talk about in winter about having more root vegetables and warming food. The new moon also might be a time when we want to have that kind of nurturing element to our food as well. So then the light increases in the sky over the next 7 days, which takes us to what we call in astrology the first quarter. That's because if you think about the image of the moon, it's dark at the top, and then the light is half full. There's a half moon, it's full at the bottom, and then the other side is illuminated, the other half. So it's a bit confusing because we call it, it's a half moon, and we call it a first quarter and a third quarter. So new, first quarter, third quarter, full and third quarter. So first quarter moon is a half moon, third quarter moon is a half moon. The first quarter moon is a point of time because the energy is increasing in the sky. After the new moon, we want to be seeding our intentions. So once that new moon has become exact, the time of the new moon, which you can look up on any app and stuff like that, and I also give it in the astrology readings as well. So once that new moon has become exact, the light begins to increase in the sky. We set our intentions, and an intention setting is often best done in writing, and even better handwriting, even better done in the positive energy. So it's like, I feel peaceful and at ease, or I enjoy time with friends and family, or, whatever it is, it's happening right here and now. We're not projecting to the future. If we use words like will be, or want to, or hope, then actually even the word I hope to is a possibility. It's not an actuality. So in terms of manifesting, the best time for manifesting is after the new moon is exact, as you know, probably. And we want to connect to these in writing as little intentions that we seed in as happening here and now. So in an ideal world, we will connect these intentions to feelings and a sense within our body of how we want to feel. That the images as well, imagery and visualization is incredibly powerful for the body. So we might see ourselves looking peaceful somewhere that we feel comfortable, for example, if peaceful were an intention. And we might also close our eyes and we might feel and sense the peacefulness inside, which is why that new moon, new beginnings meditation that's on the website under the meditation section is quite powerful, because it takes what we write and it helps us build it into a felt sense of living. And a lot of spiritual views and things like that, these are all about we don't manifest just by thinking this is happening here and now. That's a really great way to start to work with the thoughts, but often, because most of us we live primarily in the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind does rule most of what we do, we need a deeper sense of connection here, not just a word-based thing, and not the occasional to remedy something that's maybe been going on for years and years and years. We can't just work with that. I feel really peaceful at the moment, because the body won't agree with that. And the deeper level unconscious mind won't agree with that if you're not feeling peaceful. So saying to yourself, I am peaceful and at ease, is a powerful thing to do, but we kind of need more. So it's better to take ourselves into a more sort of calm, meditative state or breathing state, and then visualize and feel and sense within the body being calm and peaceful. And that is much, much more powerful in terms of manifesting. So if you have goals that you're ever working towards, you want to visualize them happening. So when I have courses and things like that I put out, when I'm in my right energy, which isn't always, obviously, but I remember that I put the work in, and I then visualize them happening there and now. So I'm teaching maybe a full workshop, or I'm enjoying working with clients that have come in a session time that I would like to fill, or maybe there's a new course that I've put out which is being really well received, and I'm feeling those feelings inside my body and sensing them and visualizing them. So that's how we work with the intention seeding after the new moon. Once the light is continuing in the sky over that next week, it's our job to pour some energy into these intentions, because the universe, as they say, rewards those that actually hacked. So it's no point in saying the universe is, is looking after me and everything is fine and I'm going to be a multimillionaire. If you're not doing anything to try to make yourself a multimillionaire, you're not going to be a multimillionaire just by chance. You might win the lottery, perhaps, who knows? But if you're not buying a lottery ticket, you're never going to win the lottery. So it's that kind of principle. The idea is that the universe rewards those who are actually doing and feeling and sensing and being themselves the way they want to be. They are pouring energy into what they want to achieve in their lives. And that's quite a powerful thing to do. So it's like the energy works with the universe, works with your own body, works particularly when we are feeling, sensing, and being those things. So one of the things that lovely Tasha Lee, who I work with in sort of supervisory and psychic capacity at times, actually quite often, not at times, quite often, she helps me with my work. So she said to me a long while ago, when you're thinking about something, don't just let it be thought, write it down. So that's the first aspect of manifesting, of course, is to write something down. And then, of course, the actions that happen afterwards. So when I'm working with something with my work, with my business, or even on a personal level, I will actually write down what it is that's going through. So the manifesting process has begun. Okay. So then after that, what happens with the light increasing in the sky, as I'm saying, is we're pouring our efforts in, our actions in, where we're seeding the change ourselves, if you like, by feeding the energy cycle. Okay. So as we continue to do this, a week afterwards, you don't need to pour blood, sweat, and tears into this stuff. It's just enough to be conscious of pouring in some efforts, and that's absolutely fine. And if we think about the nature of planet Saturn, Saturn asks us to do a little often, and I think that's a really nice way to be thinking about this. So when we then come to the quarter moon is a time of action. It's an external thing because the light is in the sky. So now we're focusing our efforts outside of ourselves. We're coming away from the internal dark moon space, the inward space, and we're focusing our efforts outside. So once we get to that first quarter, or the first half moon that we experience after new moon, at this point in time, we tend to get what's almost like a kind of it's a right angle essentially between the sun and the moon, and an angle is a point of tension. And tension, although it can feel difficult and there can be conflicts around this time and crises and stuff like that, crises, and especially around our new moon intention, it's almost like around that point in time, we might meet a challenge that is either saying to us, is this still what you want? Or don't you need to do something about this? Or is this way that you're working with it working for you? Is there something different that you could do? So that's a really important thing to remember. A week on, there will be something, usually, I'd say pretty much always, if you are working in that growth cycle, that manifestation cycle, then there will be something at that point in time that is asking us to shift and to change around it. And this is usually a point that we act on because it's externalized energy. So I believe I think it's Jeffrey Wolfram, but don't quote me on that, who says it's a crisis of action. Okay, so it's a point of action where we do something to shift the way we're working something. The light then increases. With that change focus and that point of conflict actually comes great power, because out of these tension points, actually we learn much more, not necessarily by flowing energy, that's lovely and beautiful, but sometimes in these points of tension, like when we make a mistake, we learn a lot more about ourselves and about the situation by having this tension point. So then once we've got past this, the light is still continuing to grow over that next week, taking us to week 2 of the cycle towards the full moon. We're still pouring in little bits of effort into our intentions. We're still aware of the things that we want to create in our lives, that sense of peace, maybe, if you're working with that. And you'll be giving yourself time, of course, to experience that peace if you are seeding intentions in this cycle. Although we've seeded them already, if you're continuing to grow the intentions in the cycle. Okay. So then once we reach the full moon is in essence when the light in the sky is reflected, the sun reflects the light of the moon, and we can really see here, it's like a mirror. The moon almost itself is like a mirror that has been held up and is shining into our lives to help us understand and see things more clearly. So for this reason, each actually of these particular 4 points are in themselves an energy point, a different focus. But in particular, this full moon is one that highlights, rather than the inner experience, dark moon, the outer experience of our relationships. So we look in particular, we're probably more emotionally heightened both at the new moon and the full moon, but in the full moon, it's more emotionally heightened in the sense that we are looking at our relationships, and there may be stuff going on that might be a little bit much. It might be a little bit, there's going to be things going on at this point in time. These things will be part of your journey, and it's these things that we want to learn about and understand and see bits of ourselves in, and ourselves particularly in relationship with others, not just people but life itself, maybe in relation to the concept of peace. Maybe it's all very well seeding intentions around peace and rest, but if you're not a particularly restful person, at this point in time, you might see that you're not giving yourself the time. So you might see that in your relationship within peace, your relationship to peace. So it's our relationships with things and people that are heightened. As we reach this stage, this is where, if you like, the harvest of our intentions is. So we're reaping the benefits of what we're sowing, even though it is a heightened time. If we've been sowing seeds well and pouring gentle effort into them, then around this point in time, we're probably going to be seeing some results. So this is why they think of the full moon as a completion. And yes, things can complete and end around this time, and we have new beginnings around the just after the new moon, endings kind of just around after the full moon. However, it's not so much just about endings and completions. This really is very much about awareness and growth and the completion of seeing something that we have been creating and working with, and the completion and awareness of understanding that we are gathering and growth at this time. So we take this full moon energy, and then the light is slowly beginning to wane in the sky over the next 2 weeks. Just after the full moon is a disseminating moon experience. So it's a sense that we're full of all of the efforts that we have put in, and we are teachers, if you will, of the things that we have been reaping and growing at this time. So we often feel the desire to offer out to others the knowledge that of what we've been going through to at this time. So it can be a time when we can be full of quite a lot of wisdom that we are wanting to impart to others as well, just after the full moon. And then the light continues to wane. And whilst actually this is still quite a high energy time, this is a slow drawing inwards of the cycle of these 4 weeks. So coming up, we're probably still seeding, working with our intentions. We've probably now seen how things are working, and therefore things may want to shift slightly, that we may be quite comfortable with them. So we're pouring that continued effort in, but we have more understanding of where we are and what we're doing and what we're creating. And then we get to the 3rd week point, which is our 3rd quarter moon, or essentially first quarter moon, 3rd quarter moon, or the 2nd half moon, depending on how you want to look at it. And that's 3 weeks into the cycle. Here we almost have this more internal crisis experience, this internal conflict, where it's like something inside, because of all the knowledge that we've gained and the things that we've been working on, it's like something inside wants to shift under that point of the right angle, the gentle tension conflict point there. So what is it inside that we need to be working with and altering, usually, or on the more quiet level, more of the internal rather than the external action level? It's more of an internal experience of shifting and changing here, in order to be really working with the awareness that we've gained since that cycle began. So we then continue slowing down, and we enter the kind of last point of the moon, just before the moon becomes dark again. And this is where our bodies require us to be letting go. So the things that aren't working for us that we will now know because we've come up to another third quarter moon tension point, we begin to release those, and there may be more changes in our intentions. So let's say we're working with peace and we've realized we've got to this point in the full moon cycle, and we've realized, okay, well, I'm not actually really got a lot of peace around me. The people who I surround myself with aren't very peaceful people. On the crisis point of the third quarter moon, we might begin to think, okay, so there's some changes that I need to make here. What are these changes? And we'll be feeling and sensing into that. And then as the light wanes further down towards the dark moon again, we may choose to step away from certain things that aren't helpful for us. There's a falling away and a releasing. This may be external, in the sense of we kind of spend less time with these people who are less peaceful for us. It may be more internal as well. We might be releasing things that we've maybe been holding on to, concepts, outmoded data, concepts about ourselves that we've held on to, views of I have to be active to be a valuable person. I have to achieve things in order to not be a failure. I have to do this by then because, you know, that's what I was taught about myself and that's what's valid and important. And then we'll be shifting on the internal level and releasing some of these more outmoded concepts of ourselves, and also changing, if you like, that on the more external level. So allowing our environment to reflect that. If we go back to this concept of peace, we might think, well, I'm turning off the TV after 8 p.m. at night, or I'm saying no to a few things that I would normally say yes to, even within the home, not just externally, to give myself that rest time. And then the internal points of change there as we drop down and we release the releasing aspect before. This is the best time to release here before the a couple of days, 2 to 3 days before the dark moon, new moon becomes exact again. So 2 to 3 days before the 4-week point. This is when it's a really great idea to start thinking about what am I letting go of. So I might be letting go of the idea that I have to achieve at this level. I might be letting go of the idea that I must work at this level. I might be letting go of the idea that I have to constantly be available for my children in order to be a good parent, that I must prioritize other people's needs over mine. These are the concepts we begin to challenge in the third quarter moon, the week before the new moon. We release some of those concepts of the self, and then we come back in and we come back into stillness for the dark moon, and the cycle begins again. So that's what I wanted to offer you, and I hope this has felt interesting for you. In an ideal world, put this stuff in your phone. Write down the cycles. There's an app I use on my phone here, which tells you the new moon dates and stuff. It's called little I Luna, with a capital L, I Luna. So that is really great for me to write into my things. I write in new moon, full moon. You can even write in first quarter, and it will tell you that as well, first quarter and third quarter. So you know where you are in the cycle and you can be responding to that. That's a beautiful way to be working with this too. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and I will speak to you soon.